Okay, so I'm going to take a look at systems of linear equations, doing a practice test by the absolute value publication, which is the last unit of Math 10C. So taking a look at our first question, and I'll try to do most of them, but there's a few because I don't have a graphing calculator with me that I'll skip over. But the first one is just asking us to solve the system by graphing. So we have two sets of data. We're going to graph that data and then find that point of intersection because that is the solution to the system. So let's start by graphing -2, -6, 0, -2, 2 and 2, when x is 2, y is 2, and 4 and 6. So that's my first one, and then I would connect my dots in the straightest line as I can do, and then I'm going to move on to George's set of data, where when x is -3, y is -2, when x is -1, y is 0, when x is 1, y is 2, when x is 3, y is 4, and when x is 5, y is 6. So it looks like we're sharing this point here when x is 3, y equals 4, and it would be easier to tell if you're doing it yourself and graphing it. But that is, I believe, the solution, and if you add those 2 points together, it would equal 7, which is our first answer. Now the second one, the ordered pair which satisfies the system, there are different ways you can do this, either solve the system or test it out. So let's try by testing, and if it works, it has to work in both. So if I try the first one, when x is -1 and y is 3, I would replace it into my first equation. So -1 minus 3 times 3 equals, then we'd have -1 minus 9, -1 minus 9 equals -10. So this first one doesn't work in the first equation, so even if it works in the second, it's not going to be our solution. Let's try the next one, doing the same thing, and I'm just always going to use my first. If it works in the first, I'll try the second. So if x is 3, so I'm plugging in 3 for x, minus 3 times -1, if that's what y is, equals 8. Here we have 3, and negative times negative is a positive, so 3 plus 3, that does not equal 8, so this is also not a possibility. So let's move on to the third one. X is -1, so plug that in, minus 3 times -3, and let's see if that equals 8. So -1 minus 3 times -3 is -1 plus 9, and that does equal 8. So it does satisfy the first one, so let's try the second one, and that's when x plus 4y equals -13. So we'll put -1 in for x plus 4 times -3, and we want to show that that equals -13. So we'll have -1 plus 4 times -3 would be -12, and if you do add those two together, you will get -13. So that one is our solution. It is C. You could try that last point. It won't work. So we're just testing it out, see what works for both equations. This next question number 2, the number of solutions we have, we can tell that if you're in the form y equals mx plus b. So with both of those equations, work on getting y alone. So for this first one, I'm going to move the 6x to the other side. So you'll have -2y equals 24 minus 6x, and then divide both sides by -2. So y will equal -12 plus 3x. Now, you could rearrange this so that the x term goes first. So 3x minus 12 would be our equation. And then the next one's a little bit easier to work with because all we have to do is divide both sides by 5, and we'll get y equals 3x minus 64 does not divide nicely, so let's just keep that as a fraction. So with this, what we want to compare is that your slopes are the same. In both equations, they are 3. Your y-intercepts are different. This means that your lines are going to be parallel. They're never going to touch, so you have no solutions. So that was number 2, and our answer is A. Moving on to numerical response, number 2. We have Alyssa graphing the two equations, and the y coordinate of the point of intersection. So if you have a graphing calculator, get these equations with y by themselves, plug them in, go and find that point of intersection. If you don't have a graphing calculator, what we're going to do is solve, and I think this one I'll set it up by solving with elimination. So we have x minus y equals -4 and x plus 2y equals 4. If I subtract my equation, my x term goes away and I'll have -1y minus 2. So if you're subtracting, or if you're negative and you're getting more negative, that is going to be -3y equals, and then you'll have -4 minus 4 is -8. So -3y equals -8. Let's get y alone, divide both sides, and I'm just going to use my calculator here. -8 divided by -3 is 2.66 repeating. So if I am going to write this into the nearest hundredths, I'll have to do 2.67. I know my boxes aren't lining up, but it would look like that. Now, multiple choice number 3, you are going to use a graphing calculator and then just see which one works out. Because I don't have a graphing calculator, I'm going to skip this one, but you could still try it, and you could still try doing substitution or elimination, but the numbers get a little bit messy to work with, so a graphing calculator I think would be easiest. Moving on to number 4, we have y equals 4x minus 8. And then you have another equation, but it doesn't have y alone. So let's get y alone first by, if you have x equals by plus c, let's subtract c from both sides. So you'll have x minus c equals by, and then divide both sides by b. So if I split each of these up, I can bring this a little further. If I have x divided by b minus c divided by b equals y, I want to compare it. If it's saying infinite number of solutions, I need numbers that will make my value the same as 4x and -8. So we can try that out. If b was -0.25, then you would have 1 divided by b. So 1 divided by 0.25 is 4. So we definitely will have a 0.25 as the first part. But now we need to see if we have a number and it's saying c divided by b. So for this one, if we had -2 in the numerator and divided by 0.25 in the denominator, would that equal our -8? So let's try that one out. And it did, but because we're subtracting, I should have noticed that if we're subtracting it, that it would have been a negative minus negative makes it positive, and we wouldn't actually have it work out. What does work out is having +2. So in this one, the answer is B. And then just going over that one more time, to have an infinite number of solutions, y equals mx plus b, you have to have 2 lines that have the same slope and the same y-intercept, because you'll have then one line that lays right on top of the other, and every single point on that line is a point of intersection. So that's why it's infinite. Now, if we keep going here, if we're looking at the 2 graphs, kind of a similar setup here. They're both in y equals mx plus b form, and then they're telling you that those lines are parallel. Now the next one, the number of solutions to the system y equals ax plus b and y equals cx plus d is. If you have parallel lines, like we've seen already, that means your lines will never touch. So there's no solutions here. Moving on, for which system of solutions graphed on a grid is the point -2, -1 a solution? So this is similar to another question we've already done. We're just going to plug in those points and see which equation it fits. So let's look at the first one. And you know, I just peeked at the answer. The answer is D. So why don't we prove that it's D? So this is your X value. This is your Y value. Essentially, we're just verifying. So if you have x plus y equals -3, and the other one -2x plus 5y equals -1, you want to plug in these points to both equations and show that your left side equals your right side. So for the first one, -2 plus -1 equals -3. This does equal -3, so your left side equals your right side. The point satisfies equation 1. Doing the same thing, plugging it in, -2 times -2 plus 5 times -1. We want to prove that that will equal -1. So -2 times -2 is +4. +5 times -1 is -5. We know 4 minus 5 is -1. So your left side equals your right side. So it also works in the second equation. So we definitely know our answer is D. If we plugged in those 2 points, that point into each equation of these other ones. Okay, so continuing with question number 7, it's saying to solve the system and then asking which substitution we can be made. So before that, we try to solve, we want to get rid of the fraction, and our lowest common denominator, if we even put this over 1, is that all the bottom numbers can go into 12. So if we multiply each one by 12, we would get, so 12 divided by 4 is 3, so 3x minus 12 divided by 3 is 4, so 4y equals, and then 12 divided by 1 is just 12, so 12 times 2 is 24. Now, on all of these are isolating x, so that's what we're going to do, get x by itself. So to do that, add 4y to both sides, so that goes away, and divide both sides by 3. So x will equal, and we can take that fraction, 1 over 3, right, put that in the front, and then 24 plus 4y. So if we're going through this and checking to see what answer we have, our answer that matches is D, because we're adding, this is just in reversed order, but they're equivalent. Our next one, to solve by elimination, setting this up, you have 3a minus 2b equals 14, and 2a plus b equals 7. So when I take a peek at the solution, it shows that I believe it was b was getting eliminated. So let's do that and eliminate b. So to do that, we'll have to multiply that second equation by 2, and that would give us 4a plus 2b equals 14. So this will go away. And now with this one, if I'm trying to eliminate b, because the signs are different, I'm going to add my 2 equations together. So 3a plus 4a is 7a. Negative 2b plus 2b is 0, and then 14 plus 14 is 28. So this shows us our answer is D, because that is a situation that could arise, and then we can continue to solve for A. Number 9, we need to solve this system, figure out x and y, and then plug it into the second or third equation. So to do that, again, you can solve any way you want. So you could solve by graphing if you have a graphing calculator. I'm going to solve by elimination because it's just set up nicely for that. And I'm going to start by subtracting. So I'm subtracting this whole thing. My x goes away. I'll have y minus a negative. So that means you have adding. So y plus y is 2y. And 12 minus 2 equals 10. So y equals 5. So that's my first one. I'm going to set up the same equation. X plus y equals 12. X minus y equals 2. I could just plug this y value into one of those equations and solve, but I'm just doing this one more time with elimination. This time adding both together, because adding the 2 equations gets y to go away, and you'll have 2x equals 12 plus 2 is 14. Get x alone, divide both sides by 2. X will equal 7. So now that we know what x and y equals, then we can go to this x plus 2y part. X we know is 7, y is 5. So 7 plus 2 times 5 is going to equal 17. So here your answer is B. Now, question number 10, because I do think this is an easier question to do by graphing. So if you get y alone and plug those into your graphing calculator, find that point of intersection and then look for that y value. So both of these, just make sure to isolate y, plug them on in into y1, y2, point of intersection. moving on from that one, this isn't the nicest format for the question, but we can still take a look at it. So we want to solve the system using elimination. To do that, let's get rid of these fractions. So for the first one, 3, 4, and 2 all can go into 12. So let's multiply this first one by 12. And this last one goes over 1, and all of these can go into 18. So let's simplify and then go from there. So 12 divided by 3 is 4. 4 times 2 will be 8p. And then 12 divided by 4 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9, so minus 9q. And then 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6 times 11 is 66. On the other side, or equation 2, we have 18 divided by 9 is 2. 2 times 5 will be 10p. 18 divided by 6 is 3. 3 times q, so plus 3q. And then we can't do anything with that last one because we can't divide, or there's nothing to divide by. So we'll just have 18 times 3, which I'm just using my calculator for, is 54. Now it tells you to use this or solve this system by elimination. So if we line 8p minus 9q equals 66 up with 10p plus 3q equals 54, because we're solving for p, we want to eliminate q. So what we can do is multiply this second equation by 3, and that will give us 30p plus 9q equals, and I definitely can't do that one in my head, so 3 times 54 is 162. So now I can cross this one out, and I'm going to look at equation 1 and 2. Because I'm eliminating q and my signs are different, I'm going to add. So I'll have 38p, negative 9 plus 9 makes that go away, and then 66 plus 162 equals 228. So now to get p alone, divide both sides by 38, and we want to reduce this fraction. So divide by 38. Oh, it's a nice value of 6. So it looks like a will equal 6. I'm sorry, p will equal 6. And that is the answer. I just wanted to verify. So let's move on from there. So our next one, question number 12, we're asked to solve for y, and it doesn't tell us how. So we can solve this any way we want. So I think the first thing I'm going to do for each of these is get rid of the fraction. So we have 2x plus y over 3 minus 5 equals 0. If I start by adding 5 to both sides, I have 2x plus y divided by 3 equals 5. Now I can multiply both sides by 3, so that can go away. And I have 2x plus y equals 15. So that's my first equation. My second one, I'm going to multiply both sides by 5 to get that 5 out of the denominator. And we'd end up with 3x minus y equals 5. So that's my second one. Now I want to solve for y because it's asking for that. So what I could do is get x alone in one of these and then plug it in. So I'm just going to start with my second equation, and my goal is to get x alone. So I'm going to move the y to the other side. So add y to both sides. So you have 3x equals 5 plus y, and then divide both sides by 3. Now x is alone, and now I know what x equals. I can take that and plug it into x of my first equation. So I would have 2 times 5 plus y all over 3 plus another y equals 15. So from here, I do want to get rid of this fraction. So I'm going to multiply this 2 all the way through. So it'd end up with 10 plus 2y, and this is still all over 3, plus y equals 15. Now, to get rid of the 3, I'm going to multiply, and this is all together. So I'm going to multiply every term by 3. So I end up with this one going away, which would give me 10 plus 2y plus, here's 3y equals 45. Let's collect like terms. So we'll have 5y equals, I'm also going to move the 10 to the other side. And then 45 minus 10 is 35. Divide both sides by 5. Y will equal 7. So when you're doing questions like that, if you want to write the value in terms of one variable, solve for the other, because if we're solving for the same one, we're going to end up with all x's instead of all y's. So solve for the other and then plug it in. So this question is numerical response number 4, and it's asking if you have a straight line ax plus plus y equals b, and it passes through the points given, then the value of a times b is. So this allows us to come up with a system of equations, because this is an xy value and this is an xy value. So let's start by plugging in some values and seeing where it goes. So we'd have a times -1 plus 1 equals b. And then the other one would be a times -5 plus 4 equals b. So if we were just to clean this up a little bit, you'd have -a plus 1 equals b. And on this right-hand side, you'd have -5a plus 4 equals b. So now this one here I think is easier to work with, and that equals b. So I'm going to plug that in for the b of the second equation. So I have here -5a plus 4 equals -a plus 1. So let's get a's to one side. So add a to both sides, and we'll have -4a plus 4 equals 1. And then we're going to keep going, subtract 4 from both sides. We'll have -4a equals -3. Divide both sides by -4. And a will equal +3 over 4. Now, if we know a equals +3 over 4, we can go back to either equation. I'm going to go back to the first and plug that in. So negative was in front of it. 3 over 4 plus 1 equals b. So I can plug that into our calculator. So -3 divided by 4, and we want to add 1. And that equals 1 over 4. So b equals 1 over 4, or 0.25. And then we've solved this system because we know a and b, but then it's asking what is the value of ab, so a times b. So 3 over 4, and we want to multiply it by 1 over 4 and solve. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just plugging it into my calculator. Okay, so my computer just crashed on me, but before I got to this point, we solved for a, we solved for b. So the next point or part is to multiply a and b together. And if you do that, you're going to get 187. Yes, 1875. And if it's asking to the nearest tenth or nearest hundredth, we want the first two decimals. So before we can drop the rest, that 7 will bump the 8 to a 9, and then we can drop it. And so this is 0.19. Now, moving on, I believe this is our last question, or last two questions. We have this information about Lisbeth, who's cycling a distance of 100 kilometers, and uphill, she's traveling at a speed of 12 kilometers an hour, at the rest, 28 kilometers an hour, and travels a total of 5 hours. So we're going to set up two systems, one just about distance. So her total distance she's traveling is 100. One distance is at 12 kilometers and the other one's at 28. So I'm just going to say x plus y equals 100. So that deals with distance. The other part is going to be about time. And now we need to remember that velocity is distance divided by time. So if we want to solve for just time, time is going to be distance divided by velocity. Since we know that we've already written for distance, right, x plus y equals 100, then if we wanted to base it on time, we'd have x divided by, right, because that would be distance is x, divided by the velocity we are traveling at x. So by going x divided by 12, that'd be distance divided by velocity, that will give you the time. that you drove at that speed. You want to do the same thing with y, but with y's speed, and that will equal a total of 5. So now that you have the two systems, we just want to see which one matches, and that's going to be B. Now, when it says the distance traveled uphill, so uphill she was driving slower, so that's solving for x. We're going to solve for that now. So you could solve this by graphing. I think it's solved or set up pretty easy in a sense to solve by substitution. So I'm going to take a look. If I want to solve for x, I need to still have x. So I'm going to get y alone from that first equation, and doing that, I just have to move x to the other side. Now I take that y value, 100 minus x, and plug it in for y of the second equation. So I'll have x over 12 plus 100 minus x over 28 equals 5. Now from here, I want to solve for x. This also probably would be a lot easier if you solve by graphing, but let's just keep, now I have a low battery, that's okay. So I'm going to keep going here. I need my lowest common denominator, and unfortunately 28 is not divisible by 12, so we'll have to keep going. I'm just trying to find it. So 28 times 3 is 84, and we can divide 84 by 12. That will equal 7. So we're going to multiply this whole thing by 84. Seems like such a bad number. So 84 divided by 12 was 7, so you're left with 7x. Then we'll add on 84 divided by 28 was 3. So 3 times 100 minus x equals 5 times 84 is 420. So now let's distribute that 3 through. So we'll have 7x plus 300 minus 3x equals 420. I'm just going to go up here. So collecting like terms, 7x minus 3x is 4x. Move the 300 to the other side will be 120, and divide both sides by 4 to get x alone, and we'll see that x is 30. So I just want to confirm that answer before we finish up here. And yes, it is definitely 30. So we are done here. I hope you found this helpful. If you stayed with me this long and found this helpful, please subscribe and leave me a comment if there's any other type of video you'd like me to do. Thanks for watching.